Well, friends, we begin today's Sutta discussion. The selected Sutta for today is Sabbasawa Sutta. The English translation is all the taints. Last week we discussed the roots of everything. The Pali term for the discussion was Mula Pariyaya. So today this discourse is related to the previous one. Of course it relates to every discourses because we talks about all taints, all defilements. If I bring you the geography or chronology of the discourse, this comes as the second of the Majjhima Nikaya, the middle length discourses of the Buddha. In the first section of the Majjhima Nikaya or middle length discourses of the Buddha, we found very deep and interesting discourses. I do not know what reasons for compilers of the Nikayas made them to do that, but I find very interesting because you could directly dive into the various aspects of the Buddha's teaching in the deepest way and combine them to your personal experience with these discourses. With that lens, we can look at the second discourse of the Majjhima Nikaya, Sabbasawa Sutta. The Pali term Sabba means all, everything. S-A-B-B-A, Sabba. Asa means defilement. Before I begin the discussion with the particular statement of the Buddha, I want to tell you that we may take another week or so to complete this discourse because it touches so many aspects of defilement. Today I would cover reading the discourse and also some of the important points. All the defilements. Why do we know all the defilements? It's just like knowing all the causes and conditions for rains or cultivation or rules and regulation on the road. Why? What does it brings to us? Then we can actually drive exactly as it should be. And if we know everything about rain, we know how to live with the rain, and we know when it comes and so on. We are well aware of everything. Then we would be able to go forward with everything we do. It's just like, again, knowing all the sicknesses make us healthy, right? When we know that how this sickness, how these problems, physical problems come into being, we are better following a method of not getting any sicknesses, any problems. So knowing all the defilement is therefore very important for anyone who wish to develop meditation, who wish to learn Dhamma and so on, for them to enjoy their life within the framework of Dhamma. We have that important point for knowing the sabbas of all the taints. Let me read the sutta, then you may understand many things about the discourse. Thus I have heard. On one occasion, the Buddha was living at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's park. There he addressed the bhikkhus thus: "Bhikkhus, Venerable Sir," they replied. The Buddha said this. So you could see this statement in every discourses. Why this come every discourse? What would be the reason for this statement? to be in the first place there? Why? Any answer? Who said this? Is that the Buddha said this?
No.
Who?
Disciple.
Which disciple?
I
Yeah, it was Venerable Ananda, the great attendant to the Buddha. Venerable Ananda said this to the group of monks who gathered for the first Sangha Council before he delivered the Dhamma. Thus I have heard. He was close to the Buddha for 25 years as the greatest attendant to the Buddha, and one of the promises he had before he became the great attendant was Buddha should tell everything he tell to others. Buddha should tell to me everything, every Dhamma, he explain to others. Even before he became the attendant, Buddha had delivered so many things, and it is included there as well. So you should tell what you have already delivered. Therefore, Venerable Ananda was treasure of Dhamma. He knew everything. That's why he was able to tell that I have heard thus. I listened to this from the Buddha at that place. So he said here that while the Buddha was at Jayewardenaramaya in Savatthi, he said this to a group of monks. He said what? Put the call upon the group of monks who gathered there. Then Buddha said, Bhikkhus, I shall teach you a discourse on the restraint of all the taints. Listen and attend close to what I shall say. Bhikkhu said, yes, we'll do that. So, Buddha sometime thought of explaining some Dhamma just because he wanted. We come across some situation where people ask questions, monks ask questions, nuns ask questions, and then the Buddha explained them in the form of sermons, in the form of Dhamma talks. There, the intention of delivery is not coming from the Buddha. So intention was with the disciples. Here, Buddha wanted to explain something. The intention is from the Buddha. It's called attajjase. It means intention is coming from the Buddha. Intention is coming from the preacher. Even if I want to tell you something without your questioning, it's called my intention, right? So here Buddha thought that I should share this Dhamma with the monks. What the Buddha said there, because I say that the destruction of the taints is for one who knows and sees, not for one who does not know and see. So we have destruction of taints here. It is only for one who knows and sees, not for one who does not knows and sees. Do you understand what it means? Let's take the destruction of taints. Taints are really negative, right? Other words for taint is defilement. So anything defile our mind is called defilement. Anything anything give us negative emotions, negative feelings is called taints. Asava, the Pali word, is so rich that it says something negative flows from this moment to the other. It continues just like a chain. That type of defilements are called asava, right? Today you got angry with somebody, and tomorrow you remember him and her and the situation, and you feel angry again. So you continue that type of emotion day by day, week by week, and you confirm with that negative emotion. Whenever you remember the incident, you feel angry, you feel jealousy, you feel frustrated. So that type of defilements are called taints, asavas. So because it flows continuously. Kilesa, defilement. The other word, defilement, or kilesa means anything defile your mind. Sometimes you get angry by seeing something. Immediately after that, you do something for that. Either by transforming your mind to loving kindness, metta, or any other reason, you could be able to overcome it. So that anger there is not asava, could not be asava. Of course, an underlying tendency of asava would be there, but you recover yourself by putting it only to a kilesa or defilement. So that's how we define the words, but they are interrelated. Kilesa, or short, defiled state of our mind, could be, lead into asava state, or taints, right? Taints also could be coming to us as defilement in a way, so they are interrelated. So destruction of taints, yes.
There are how many categories of asavas are there? There are 4, right?
4, yes.
Yeah.
Kamasava, desire for sensual pleasures.
Bhavasava.
Bhavasava, desire for existence. And avijja, so desire for ignorance. The way we say it, taints of ignorant taint. Ignorance as a taint. Then ditta, so views. So these are the 4 main asavas. But in the discourse we can find only 3. Sometime 4. But basically there are 3: kamasava, bhavasava, avijjasava. Yeah. So destruction of taint or destruction of asava is the thing that people, including monks and nuns, should do in terms of attaining enlightenment. Buddha did it at the full enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. And those who cross over mundane life and confirm their enlightenment also did that. So nobody can go into nirvana keeping these asava, because when we talk about asava or taints, we talk about everything. So we have to pull out the seed of asava in order to reach to nirvana. So destruction of craving or destruction of taint is for one who knows and sees, not for one who does not know and sees. That statement is very important here, because Buddha delivered the destruction of asava, or just asava, or about the asava, only for someone who knows about it. It does mean that he did not deliver the sermon or asava or taints for some people who do not know, or some people who haven't done anything on the teaching. Suppose a group of people who do not know anything about Srila, or what you call meditation and so on. Buddha, in my opinion, does not deliver about asava, because this is very deep. So when we name 4 asavas, such as sensual pleasures, and then ignorance, then bhava, desire for existence, do you understand these 4 or 3 asavas from your experience? Can you recognize them in your speech, in your thinking, in your feeling? It's not that easy, right? We may be able to define them, we may be able to read about it, but the difficult part is to understand them from our own experience, which is not easy. So Buddha delivered this type of sermon for someone who has already started the training to identify asava, kilesa or defilement by the name of asava. They are the people who knows and sees. They are the people who are able to deal with the asavas in terms of pulling them out. Now we can find another interesting thing here. It is that Buddha knew the people's understanding, which level these people are, what they have been doing in the training, just before he delivered something, just before he, selected topics of conversation. So I'm pretty sure that the monks who were there at that time were very well versed, very good monks in the training. That's why he himself thought of sharing about asava with the group of monks. If the group of monks who were there are novice or newcomers, I don't think Buddha delivered this, because it's just like you take a group of children who are around 15 and talk about something that is relevant to PhD students. You don't do it, right? So to me, the group of monks here are like PhD students, and Buddha is giving so deep Dhamma talks. So that's why he used this phrase. I say the destruction of taints is for one who knows and sees, not for one who does not know and see. Who knows and sees what? Now he explained. Who knows and sees what? Wise attention and unwise attention. So these are the very important topics for today's discussion. Wise attention and unwise attention. Yoniso manasikara and ayoniso manasikara. These are the Pali terms. When one attends unwisely, unarisen taints arise and unarisen taints increase. Arisen taints increase. Let me read that again. When one attends unwisely, unarisen taints arise and arisen taints increase. When one attends wisely, unarisen taints do not arise and arisen taints are abandoned. So we have two topics of Dhamma here. They are very important. One is wise attention, the other one is unwise attention. What do you understand by wise attention and unwise attention? What would be this wise attention and unwise attention? Just
proper understanding.
Yeah, proper understanding and improper understanding. What does that mean for us? What does that mean for us, and what the Buddha mean here could be two different things. Because keep in mind that he started the discourse himself just to explain something deep for someone who has already started training very well. So therefore, when you answer, it's okay for you to say what you mean by wise attention and unwise attention. At the same time, we try our best to get what the sutta means about wise attention and unwise attention too. We can understand the later one with the discourse, but what do you mean by wise attention and unwise attention, or proper attention or improper attention, or appropriate or inappropriate?
You have to have the proper knowledge
No, wisdom.
of what.
You have to look at from the eye of wisdom.
Yeah.
Why these taints arise?
Prevent proliferating asavas.
Yeah. Yeah, you have been thinking about the discourse, and which is good. Uh, yeah, basically wise attention means you think wisely, right?
Yeah.
You attend to things wisely, right? If you drive to the speed limit and not exceeding the limit, it would be a wise attention according to mundane sense, right?
Yeah.
And if you clean your body and keep it nice and clean and do everything outside of your life, outside of your body nice and clean, that would be also a wise attention. Simply, wise attention means do things wisely. As you said, it goes more towards wisdom rather than knowledge. Of course, I know what you mean by knowledge. Knowledge could be a part of wisdom as well. Sometimes we refer to the word knowledge or having so many ideas of wisdom in mind. It's fine as long as we understand the scope of the intelligent or knowledge. But let's, from the Dhamma point of view, wise attention means yoniso manasikara. Let me elaborate these two terms, yoniso manasikara and ayoniso manasikara, using Pali terms, because that's huge. Yoni means the beginning point of everything. Yoni. Manasikara means thinking. Not just thinking, but putting your attention to the beginning of everything. Where the worlds, or the very deep word, proliferation, it's called wandering in your own thinking, not knowing where to think and what to think. It's called mental proliferation. So with wise attention or putting your attention to the beginning, you just get the starting point. Let's say our thinking start from getting information from our six senses and putting them into our perception and previous experience, and then when we produce a new idea. Exactly what the Buddha said here, that we see pictures, colors, shapes, from our eyes. Then there is eye consciousness. Depending on pictures and eye consciousness, there is feeling, perception. Then we have creation of thoughts. That's how the mental process is going on. So wise attention or yoniso manasikara means that you would be able to see how this idea came into being, right? So how we get a mango? What is the process of a mango? Somebody has to plant the mango seed somewhere to get a root and a couple of leaves, and then you put it out, put enough water, fertilizer, let it grow into a big tree. Then you could see flowers, and then you see small mango. After some time you see it ripen, and that's how you eat a mango. This is a whole cycle of eating a mango. Now you see the first point of mango. Likewise, you put the total undivided attention to your thinking. Suppose you are angry by some reason. If you have wise attention, you may see what causes and condition this anger to exist. What made me to be angry? Then you see the causes and condition of your anger. As a result of the causes and conditions, anger arises, anger has arisen. Now you take the next steps. Okay, anger is bad, anger is negative, anger is nothing, giving nothing for me positively, or and others. So now you go to the next step. So Yoniso Manasikara or wise attention to the points where things begin is really important for someone to practice sila, morality, samadhi, concentration, panya, wisdom. So we all should develop wise attention. What is ayoniso manasikara? Unwise attention. With the English term un, we add un at the beginning. With the Pali, we added to make it the opposite. It means you are not able to put the attention part there, good attention part of there. That means you are ignorant. You are unaware of the process. You are unaware of what is happening in your mind. That's called ayoniso manasikara. Wise attention, when one attends unwisely, unarisen taints arise and arisen taints increase. So taints are something we carry from our previous life. When we were born to this world, these taints are there in our mind. Because of the taints we were born to this world. Otherwise, we don't get rebirth. So by distracting all taints, there is no possibility for someone to get rebirth. So because of the taints, we are born to this world. So therefore taints are something we carry from previous lives. But if we are able to develop wise attention at some point of our life, I mean when we understand the world and the society and mother, father and so on, we do not develop taints. We always cut it. How about if you cut the leaves or break the leaves or branches of a tree which is growing? Does that tree grow? Because every morning you check the plant and cut the roots. Cut the branches. Cut all these new leaves. Then the growth of the tree decreases. Likewise, we set wise attention gadget in our mind always and cut off all the taints as they arise. If you continue to do that, your mind becomes empty one day with all these defilements and you feel enormous joy. You would be enlightened. That's how Buddha advised us to do it. Any questions so far?
What's the English word for the for asava?
Asava taints. T-A-I-N-T-S. That's the word.
T-A-I-N-T-S.
You could type asava. A-S-A-W-A.
Okay.
You could get it because it has become English word now.
Oh, okay.
Some Pali words are taken as English word as they move around, and because there are no direct translation for some Pali words.
Mm-hmm.
We hired some words by matching the meaning of the concept. For example, dukkha. Dukkha has become English term now. D-U-K-K-H-A. Because by English word suffering, we mean the mostly physical, emotion, kind of emotional suffering. But with the word dukkha in Pali, it does mean so many things. It means psychological and physical suffering as well. Mostly psychological, unsatisfactoriness. So taking dukkha into English exactly as it is and putting so much emphasis on that, I think people understand better. Like into asava, you could type asava, ASAWA, I think. Yeah. So tains is the word given by Bhikkhu Bodhi for asava. So I'm using the Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation here.
When Buddha said that he is delivering this one only to wise people, isn't that means now you said mango? I mean, we can understand. You don't have to. We are wise enough to understand. But what the Buddhism does is, when you get the mango, you develop. You look at it in a different way. Isn't that what? That's what Lord Buddha wanted those people to be. I mean, he's not worried about everybody wise enough to understand up to getting the mango, I mean. But he wants to see what they think after getting that fruit, according to the Buddhism, isn't it? That's what he was, because everybody can understand, I mean, right?
Not everybody can understand. Of course, everybody can understand how a mango is produced. It's only an example given by me.
Yeah, I know that. But,
yeah, I know
yeah.
you're aware of that. But
you have to develop enough to think deeper than that.
Yeah.
Okay, so even this sermon, maybe he wanted his group to understand what he's preaching.
Yeah.
But they cannot understand what he's preaching if they haven't developed that mentality.
True.
Beyond that normal thinking, I mean.
Yeah, true. Actually, the group of monks in this discourse are not newcomers.
Yeah.
They have lived enough with the training to get the full meaning of what the Buddha said. If we keep the peak of anything in Buddhism as attaining arahantship, so they have that capacity with the discourse, right? Sometimes Buddha did not deliver any Dhamma for any people, for some people, because Buddha knew that from his understanding that these people are not being able to understand what I'm saying.
If I can share what was going in my mind when I was listening to these words, I was thinking climate change. Some people, they try to address climate change, but they only say, well, I recycle, I'm good. So those, to me, are the people that don't see, I don't know. So I that was the parallel that I was following, that I was using in my mind. So if you talk to somebody about how to fix climate change sustainability, the people that know and see, they see a different perspective than the people that don't know and don't see. What do they eat? How did they get here today? Did they come by car or by bus? This type of thing.
Yeah.
To me, those are the people that can see, or the people that think that the only problem is recycle, and if I recycle, I'm good. To me, those that don't see. So I mean, even if they try to fix the problem, if you don't know where it comes from, you cannot fix it. That was just the thought that I was.
Yeah.
And I think Lord Buddha mentioned two things here. By getting the correct perception, you not only destroy what the defilement that you have, but you also stop those things rising again.
Yeah.
It's not only to remove that, but also you have to make sure that
They don't come back.
defilements don't come back.
Yeah. Yeah, we have seen that Buddha has delivered similar discourses in number of occasions to different type of people. For example, Buddha has talked about right effort in the Noble Eightfold Path, Samma Vayama, right effort. It has been categorized into four as, not giving any opportunity for any unarisen, negative emotion. It means that you are taking all type of measures not to allow yourself to get into, defilement. It means again that you don't have any problem now, but you foresee that some difficult things could come and you take precautions now. That's the first type of right effort.
Yeah.
The second type of right effort is that you have those negative emotions in your mind now. You feel anger, you feel frustration, you tried your best, but they invaded your mind. So what right effort you should have right now is that you should abandon them. Try your best to abandon, erase, eliminate them. That's the second type of right effort. Third type of right effort is that you somehow manage to develop positive qualities, wholesome qualities, right? Try your best to, arouse positive, wholesome qualities. That's the third type of right effort. Once you develop the right set of mindset, try your best to maintain them. That's the fourth one. So, what I'm pointing out here is that Buddha has delivered the same thing from a different angle. But what does he means here is that I'm going to tell you everything. I'm going to tell you the fundamental way of defilement, and it could only be done by one who has done something in the training, right? So it just like he's delivering his last sermon to a group of monks who are ready to understand full enlightenment. It doesn't mean that it couldn't be understood by others. We can understand, right? Is there anyone who is ready to attain full enlightenment tonight? Of course, it's wonderful if there is someone, but we are still trying to understand the concept, right? We can do something here in the discourse, but the full scope of the topic is so much so that monks would be able to get everything. I want to add here something very important. Buddha has categorized people into four, depending on the wisdom, depending on the way people get knowledge. The first one is Uggatitanya, quick learners. These people can get everything just by listening couple of words, couple of concepts. They do not need examples, analogies, similes. They just want to hear the statement, then they can themselves understand the statement in different ways, with different meanings themselves. For example, Venerable Sariputta, he did listen to only couple of words, not even from the Buddha. So some people just get the point by just listening the introduction. So they are very skillful. They are genius people. They are very intelligent. Their capacity of understanding something is remarkable. So they are called quick learners, Uggatitanya. These are the people who attain to Sovan, first stage of enlightenment, Sakudagami, the second level of enlightenment, third level of enlightenment, full enlightenment, just by listening to discourses. Right? Then the second category is Vipatitanya. They need the first statement and little bit of explanation to it. They are not able to understand the meaning behind the words and statement. They take some time, maybe 1 hour, maybe 2 hours, maybe a day or so. Then only they get into the point. They are called Vipatitanya, not quick learners, but good learners with some explanation. Nyaya. It means that trainers or trainees, these people need lot of principles to sharp their good words and actions and so forth. They may need lot of training principles. they take maybe 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, maybe lifetime, maybe couple of lifetime. Somehow they manage to train themselves in the training principles. Nyaya trainees. Padaparama, the fourth category, is interesting. They just know only words. They do not know they do not have any experience of the Dhamma, but they know every words. They can deliver well, they can explain well, but they are unable to even deal with the negative emotions such as anger, frustration, jealousy, and so forth. The Padaparama, the very word explains that Padaparamai. Pada means words. Param means you have only words. You have a vocabulary. You know a lot of discourses. You have written some books, but you are unable to deal with your own emotions. There are so many people in the fourth category today.
You don't know what you're talking about.
Of course, maybe you know what you are talking about, but you are unable to control yourself. I have seen some scholars in Buddhism. They are very good in delivering, but they are unable to show what they deliver. They get angry, they get upset. Of course, sometimes they do delivering just because of reputations. They have intentions such as gaining so many things. We can feel it. We can see that. That's because they have knowledge. They are intellectual about the subject, but they are not experiencing what they stand for. Padaparam. So depending on the way people develop wisdom, we can categorize all type of human beings into these four. So wise attention, if there is important here. If you have wise attention, you of course experience something. You know what you are saying. You know what you should do. You feel it. It's yours. I think we should move forward. Because there are taints that should be abandoned by seeing. There are taints that should be abandoned by restraining. There are taints that should be abandoned by using. There are taints that should be abandoned by enduring. There are taints that should be abandoned by avoiding. There are taints that should be abandoned by removing. And there are taints that should be abandoned by developing. We can see that Buddha explain here that there are 7 types of taints. How we see the difference of taint? By way of dealing with. Because, monks, there are taints that should be abandoned by seeing. S-E-E-I-N-G. It's just not seeing from your eyes. It does mean that you see it from wisdom. There are some taints, or let make it simple. There are some craving that could only be removed just by understanding. We can see what these taints are in the discourse. So there are taints that should be abandoned by restraining. Some taints are there in our mind, and we can deal with them, or we can do away with them just by restraining, no any other way. Right? There are taints that should be abandoned by using. Let's see what we use to abandon this type of taints. There are taints that should be abandoned by enduring. Endure means you have patience, you have ability to hold on to. That's how you abandon those taints. There are taints that should be abandoned by avoiding. We do avoiding. We avoid something just to deal with these type of taints. There are taints that should be abandoned by removing. You completely remove. You don't take them, before they come to you, you make things to remove it. There are 10 that should be abandoned by development. By cultivating your mind, you have some sort of 10 to be abandoned. Let me give an example to understand this. Why these 7 types of 10s are there, and why do we need to do different things to pull out all type of 10s. If I go out and try to work in the garden, what tools I should go have with, like hammer, or maybe a knife, or maybe a hand saw, maybe different type of tools should be there to weed out, to put soil for the plants, and to do everything in the garden. I should have these tools. Suppose you find different size of weeds. Some you could pull out from your hand, some you cannot do by your hands. With weed that you could pull out by your hand, you do it simply by pulling them out. Those big ones, you take the tools, right? Do you need to take the tool to remove those small weeds? No, we just take by hands. And even though we try to pull out those big weeds by hand, it's impossible. You have to use the particular tool for that. Similarly, we have to identify different type of taints or defilement or craving, and we should have the proper tool, proper psychological or mental tool to pull them out. Suppose kamasava, desire for sensual pleasures, or taints of sensual pleasures. We have certain ways to pull this out, but by other ways we cannot do it. Okay, that's what I wanted to tell you. So when we talk about all the taints, now we know what taints are. We mentioned that desire for sensual pleasure, desire for existence, desire for this and that, and ignorance, and so on. Now we have the way of pulling out them, the way of destruction. Some we see, by seeing we have to destroy them, by avoiding, by removing, by enduring, by developing. There are 7 ways of destructing taints. Any questions? No questions? That's good. I'm going to take the first way of taints. What taints bhikkhus should be abandoned by seeing? Here, an untaught ordinary person who has no regards for noble one and is unskilled and undisciplined in their dhamma, who has no regards for true men and is unskilled and undisciplined in their dhamma, does not understand what things are fit for attention and what things are unfit for attention. Too long, right? Long sentences connected by small parts. It's go all the way around. For us it's easy, but for someone who has not read this type of discourses, find difficulties understand what does that mean. Now we are in the section tends to be abandoned by seeing. Okay, so Buddha started that untaught ordinary person. I explained this last week as well. Untaught ordinary person means the one who does not know anything about spirituality in Buddhism. Anyone who does not know how mind and body function exactly as it is untaught ordinary person. the Sinhala and Pali word for this putujjana. Putujjana means the very ordinary, average person. He doesn't have any value of any of those meditation, psychology, ego. He doesn't want this. He doesn't want to hear about. He just want to make his life living with anything he finds, either by stealing, either by doing good things. He is not interested any of those, spirituality. This is called putujjana. This is called untaught. Take the word untaught, ordinary person. There would be ordinary people who are taught, who are learned, but this is untaught, ordinary. He doesn't know anything about you. You may be kind and compassionate. You value so much of your actions, loving kindness and compassion. You have some sort of value, ethics in your life. But the person who doesn't have anything like that will see, what is this? Are you crazy? Let's go and do a party instead of meditating. Untaught, ordinary person doesn't know any value of meditation, any value of listening to a talk. Suppose you are interested really on something positive, something interesting on kindness and compassion, but untaught, ordinary person sees not valuable, useless. So untaught, ordinary person and he doesn't have any regards for one who has done something great in spirituality. He has no respect. He has no any consideration for such people. This person who doesn't have any regards for good teaching, good people, and so on, does not understand what things are fit for attention and what things are unfit for attention. Of course, right? He doesn't know what attention means, why attention is important. Not just attention, but wise attention. Too much for the brain today? Yeah, the difficult part here is connecting your experience to the particular sutta state. I know that that's the difficult part, because if we are really connecting to what the Buddha said in discourses, we are not in the state. We would be enlightened, because we have been. It's the most difficult part. I warn here. It's a friendly reminder, of course, not warning. Our normal procedure in our mind is to hear what we know already. We find interesting when we hear something related to us, something we already know, because we can connect it, we like it. But when we hear something deep, when we hear something out of our boundaries, our mind has a habit to decide that, oh, it's too much, it's boring, it's not in our capacity, and so on. But it's a part of ignorance in our mind. Our mind has that capacity that it decide, okay, this is out of my capacity. So be careful about it. Should have wise attention there, that we do not allow our mind to deceive us.
There's an English word for that.
What
the
is that?
Term, psychological word is confirmation bias.
Say it again.
Confirmation bias.
Oh, okay.
Our mind is more open to confirm what we already know and we already feel and whatever, and we close our eyes to the stuff that's new to us,
Yeah.
or that disrupts our life or disrupts our thought process. So if you give me an information that confirms my existing thought process, I listen to it and I remember it.
Yeah.
If you tell me something that disrupts my body of knowledge, I don't pay attention to it.
Yeah,
So that's confirmation bias. That's the psychological term.
very good. Thank you. If we put a magnet on sand, what happened? Anything related to it could quickly come and attach to the magnet. But the sand and other things, they don't come. Likewise, we are kind of magnets. Anything in your boundary you could pick. Others, they are not coming to you. But as wise people, as people who develop wise attention, should be able to remember at least words of unknown areas and refer to it over and over again. What is that? What does this word say? What does this concept mean for us? So that's how wise attention about unknown concept should be developed. What I really wanted to mention here that is that a lot of people like to hear stories. A lot of people like to hear how things happen when people die, when people go to heaven and so forth. Our habit is to listen to something mundane. But when we take this discussion like this, we cannot stay in that limit. Unfortunately, we have to, whether you understand or not, we have to discuss what the discourse says. It happened to the Buddha. Sometime the hall where the Buddha delivered, or the places Buddha delivered, there were so many people and only handful of people understood what he meant. Therefore, I don't people to come to this sutta discussion. I don't send general email for any person, because I know that this is not interesting. Have you seen that the flyer about sutta discussion on Thursday is circulated through BCC email? No, I don't do it, because I know that I don't want a lot of people to become disappointed, because some people do not have patience to listen for 1 hour or 1.5 hours because they lack of patience. But these monks had that patience. If the Buddha delivered the discourse for 3 hours, they set themselves and continue their attention from the very beginning to the end without any breaking of their attention. They have that patience. And a lot of people don't have. People need fast food, right? People like fast food, quick things. Many days, when we deliver Dhamma, people say, Bhante, can you shorten the sermon for 25 minutes? Because psychologically people have that capacity. He wants to tell that people have it, but really he just have that capacity. But some people have it. I say this with compassion that we cannot do things like people suggest, and people have to adjust what it should be. If they want to really practice patience by coming to a session like this, 1 hour or 1.5 hour, even like meditation, you should prepare yourself according to the program, and not the program could be changed according to their perception. We know that people are still training, and they should have training in that just to develop. So basically, we should develop patience and attention and being able to focus. These are some of the skills we should develop by listening to a talk. I kindly say that it's fine that you could not remember the facts in the discourse. Or perhaps you may not be able to remember the discourse name next week. It's fine. But focus to develop patience, ability to listen, try to connect what I or somebody else say to your experience, and that's how we collect the knowledge and experience one after the other. One day, you feel the change in your own life. So I told you that the first couple of discourse of Majjhima Nikaya are not simple and easygoing. They are so deep.
Was this discourse given when the Buddha was 40 or when he was 80?
That's a good question. I do not know exactly
Okay.
about it, because in my experience it would be sometime after, because or maybe at the very beginning of the dispensation, because we find a lot of monks who entered the order in the first 20 years were very knowledgeable, very calm. They had high wisdom, because they came to the order with only one vision, that is enlightenment. After 20 years of the ministry, a lot of people came into the order just not only for attaining enlightenment, but to experience pleasure and a luxurious life, because there were monasteries in the big cities and they were well supported by the administration. Jayewardenaramaya was situated in the heart of the Savatthi, and merchants, business people, millionaires like Anathapindika and the king always visited this monastery. Suppose if a lot of people in Ottawa come to this place, they make it bigger, right? They made the place more convenient by putting chairs and fan and different things. Likewise, Jayewardenaramaya was one of the luxurious hotel-like monastery. So a lot of people came to the order after 20 years just because of these facilities. That's why problems started. They did not have clear intention of what they live for. They did so many bad things, and regulations, Vinaya rules came one after the other. Buddha had to, form a type of disciplinary code to protect the momentum for those kind people to come and come to the order and practice up to the enlightenment.
You mean they came to the order?
Order means big order, community of monks and.
Okay, but did the Buddha establish a monastery?
Yeah.
He did?
Yeah.
Okay, so there was a building where he spent most of his time and.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have a couple of minutes. We are talking about seeing. Of course, we have a lot of things there with the seeing. The untaught ordinary person does not know or does not understand what things are fit for attention and what things are unfit for attention. Since that is so, he attends to those things unfit for attention, and he does not attend to those things fit for attention. His problem is not knowing. His problem is lack of understanding. Therefore, he does not know where to put his wise attention or where not, something like that. As a result, he's in big trouble. He doesn't find any way out of that. You see the danger here? If you do not know what this mean and what that mean, how could you go even a step on this noble path? So the first treatment we should have if we are in this level is to clear our understanding. At least let's start with observing principles. And one of the things people should do is to believe someone and doing everything that person as that person says. Here it is, there is danger. You may get caught up for somebody who is not knowing. There are show off today that I know many things than this and I am better than this and so forth. We should be careful about that. But if you really need to go and develop yourself on the noble path, of course you find good teachers. So we should be careful about that. What are the things unfit for attention that he attains to? There are things such that when he attains to them, the unarisen taints of sensual desire arises in him, and the arisen taints of sensual desire increases. So, what are the things what are the things unfit for attention? Is that anything you focus should not be arising taints. Let me tell you this from other words. When we see something, when we hear something, when we taste, when we sense, when we cognize, these things should not be giving us a craving, taints, defilement. Anything that bring us negative emotion should not be paid any attention. Suppose there are some pictures, there are some people that you meet. By seeing them, by associating them, by living with them, you get only something negative. So if you happen to experience something negative by seeing, by talking, by having these people in your life, I would say related to this fact that you should not have any relationship with them. Buddha has advised us to avoid people.
That is avoidance, yeah.
Yeah, of course it's it comes under that avoidance, but what I'm saying is here that we can take into this fact as well that you avoid people just because the association with them gives so much trouble for us. Seeing here is W-I-N-G means seeing from wisdom. Wisdom eye is functioning here. So you understand everything as they are. Okay. If I go to there, I wouldn't get any chance of cultivating kindness, compassion. So I do not go. That decision is taken by pondering and thinking wisely. So that's how we avoid some taints by seeing. If anything made us to arise, made us to be angry, we should be, avoid that. We shouldn't do that. So when we say, when he attains to them, the unarisen taints of sensual desire arises in him, and arisen taints of sensual desire increases. The unarisen taints of being arises in him, and so on. So he is delivering those three type of taints. So any action, any words, or any thinking gives us taints, we shouldn't do that. That's what simply Buddha mean here. For that, you should be able to know what taints are and what type of taints are, and so on. See how deep this teaching is. That's why Buddha started that destruction of taints are delivered only for one who knows and sees. Again, what you should do here is that if you do not see and if you do not know and see this, what you need to do? Try your best to know them from your experience. Yeah?
If you don't have that correct wisdom to know what it is, you can't practice the other 6.
Yeah.
You can't, if you don't know,
Yeah,
how can you restrain, how can you,
Yeah, very good answer, very good explanation. Yeah, if you know one of the 7, it's easy for you to know the other 6 into a certain
the first one is
extent.
the most important.
Yeah,
If
you're right.
you know the first one, you can practice with the other ones.
That's true. We have a lot of numbers and set of teachings and categorization in Theravada Buddhism. Right? The first one, second one of those lists are really important because without them, you cannot go to the other levels, other things. Yeah, what you said is right. By seeing you destroy some things means you develop your understanding about them. It means you connect to the other point as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to read the rest of the rest of the sentences on the first section, as I'm going to email you that. Okay, so it's up to you to read, but try your best to understand what this discourse means. It's talk about all type of defilements, and Buddha clearly said here that taints or defilements come into exist just because we don't have wise attention. Unwise attention made us to unaware all these things. Therefore, develop wise attention. It is the key for the training. It is the key for understanding everything. Right? If you develop wise attention over and over again, you would be able to know everything as they are. In another discourse, Buddha said that wise attention is just like the dawn of the day, the dawn of the sun. What is the dawn of the sun? Is that sun rising? It's not sun rising. Dawn is 1 hour before the sun rising. Dawn is, what is the dawn is? You could see some sort of light in the east sky. It comes around 5 a.m. Depending on the weather pattern, it could be 4:30. Basically 5, after 5. You could see some light in the east. So that's called dawn. So dawn is a signal that the sun rising is coming 1 hour or 45 minutes. So the yoniso manasikara or the wise attention is the sign that we have taken the practice seriously. If you have wise attention developed exactly as it is, it's a sign of your progress. I would like to tell you that you should Google wise attention. Wise attention in Buddhism. Without in Buddhism, you get something else. Wise attention in Buddha's teaching. Wise attention in Buddhism. Or type Yoniso Manasikara, you'll get it. Yoniso Manasikara. Okay, we don't have that much time today for a lengthy discussion, so we are going to stop here. If you want to write something about the explanation of Sutta Discussion, you may, because we don't have that much time here in the discussion to questions or to go on some topics deeper. So you are welcome to write and send it to me. Then I can share them with the others also. In this level, we had to do something more. Like in a normal sense, we come to temple with flowers, food, or any item of donations, and we offer them and do some chanting and talks something normal. That's the first level, in my opinion. It's not difficult for us too, because we have trained enough to chant. We have trained enough to say the normal thing. In my opinion, it doesn't give you so much. It's good compared to nothing, but it's going on the surface level. But when you come to meditation, when you come to lengthy Dhamma talks, these people look for something different, right? They need more. They need to get something out of the Buddha's teaching. So I find another level. Some people meditate, some people read, some people analyze. Still they find some difficulties. They want to go into those suttas and change their way of behavior dramatically. They want to feel the change. They cannot wait for another life or some years. They want to change their behavior, emotional, psychological behavior, and they want to feel it. I think we should be in that category, or at least in the second category, if you come to this kind of discussion, right? If you are not there, it's fine. I welcome you, but what I'm saying you to develop your interest in finding or exploring the Buddha's teaching in this way, in these classes, right? I say what I want and you listened. I don't know whether it is right or not. It's not that easy. Do you think that Buddha and other monks who attained full enlightenment did that by doing things in a simple way? No, they dedicated their whole life. Can you stay outside for a week without heating and without air conditioning in a cave? How dedicated they are, right? While being able to live a luxurious life with everything, do many people decide to leave everything and go to the forest and stay out of all these amusing things? It's unthinkable, right? But these people did it. That's why they could be able to attain enlightenment. It doesn't mean that we householders could not do that, because we know that attaining enlightenment is 100% psychological. It's not physical. Physical body is used to do that psychologically.
That's another method, he says, of eliminating the asavas.
Yeah.
Forbearance.
Endure the pain.
Endure the pain.
Yeah. Endurance. Develop endurance.
Yeah.
When your wife is, when your husband is not looking at you in a nice way, endure that.
Endure.
Oh, it's what I'm receiving now.
Yeah.
When your
Even
wife or husband
even the
scolding
food.
at you or accusing you, accept it as
even
this
the
is
food.
the gift that I take.
Even the food, if she gives little, so that's fine.
Yes, tell her that I need more.
This is a message.
I just want to eat something, that's about all.
Yeah. But there are peaceful method that you could follow. Can I have something, please?
Yeah. So
Don't you
ask.
like me giving something more?
That's an asava.
No, I mean, that's using some nice words, right?
Yeah. You're showing him asava.
Instead of using give me some more, otherwise they're rough
You won't get
and negative.
anything.
You won't get anything after that. So
I'm practicing these things now at home.
really, that's
do,
nice.
Do you get discouraged if you feel that, supposing, we are here and you're preaching and
No, no,
that,
not at all.
you know, these people don't understand, I mean, something like that?
No.
No, for that you should read
You know,
before you
look
No,
at
I'm
look
not
at
talking
people who
about
look
our
for
role, I'm talking about
look at people who look for gems and all these valuable things, you know, in the soil. They work so hard for months and years, but once a while, very rarely they get one gems and so on.
Yeah.
Their energy is not decreasing. You know, it's a good skill for me. It's a good deed for me. No matter what you understand and what levels you take your mind into, it's really interesting for me to say and share my what I think. It's a within this 1 hour, do we blame somebody? No. Do we use bad words? No. Do we develop sensual pleasure? No. Of course, sometime we could, because by sitting on the floor, by sitting on the chair for such a long time, what is this? We may have those feelings, right? But I don't feel that. It's up to people to have it. People should take care of their own life. But from I don't have that. I like, even if you do not talk a single word throughout 1 hour, 2 hour, I don't mind it. I welcome it.
Then why did you select this particular sutra? Because Buddha had said in this sutra, he wants to tell that to people who understand, not to others.
I just want to know that. That there are some discourses like that. One of the objectives of Sutta discussion is to open your mind that there are so many things that we do not know.
No, I try to read before I come.
Yeah, of course. Did I email you?
No, you didn't.
This time I forgot.
But I googled that sutra and read it.
No, you have learned something.
I
That's a
learned
good
something.
student.
Yeah, good student.
I came prepared.
Yeah, I know that. That's
No, in my case, it is like a opening my mind. I mean, I didn't know anything, I mean, right? Now at least, even if I'm not that wise, at least I understand there is something like this.
So you was
Right.
preparing for the lesson, then you were preparing food for him.
Yeah, he's
Okay,
not
there you go.
doing anything.
I prepared and I wrote down notes.
He's
Very good, very good. No, actually, I should say something here, that he is very careful about every discourses, everything, and he corrects my email. He say what he thinks, and he comes prepared
Oh
with
boy.
the discourses,
Did you
which
see
is
that?
very nice. Only he does that, which is something good. I know that the other people cannot do it because of works, because of so many things in life, but he is retired. It's not that he did. He is taking care of that very much.
No,
No,
that
I
is-
don't take care that much.
that is
I don't
him.
want to do too much.
No, that is him. When he reads something, it will, jump out, I mean. Normally you will read, I mean, but if there is a mistake, it will
No,
come
now
out.
I
No,
can't
it's
do
very
that.
good for us because it's how we share things.
No, I used to do that when I was working, but now that I don't work, I don't practice that too much.
Yeah. Okay,
No,
now we
I
are.
like this sutra discussion. I like it.
No, the
Some
thing is
days-
that if you like sadhu, if you like it, you must come prepared so that you can get better, use
I
it.
don't have enough
Yeah.
time because I was cooking
This is
for
the
you.
thing, you have to have time.
No, that
That is not a good
that
excuse.
wasn't right.
That's not a good excuse. That's
Okay,
just an
so
excuse.
yeah, we are going to end today's class.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for coming and listen to the talk and sharing your insight. I hope we could cover the rest of the discourse next week. That sutta we discuss is Sabbasawa Sutta, second of the Majjhima Nikaya, all the 10s, and it could open our mind definitely for something we should know. So I hope you have that energy, and my blessing blessing is to you to continue training on the peaceful methods of the Buddha. May you be well, happy and peaceful. Sadhu,
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 sadhu.